Yo, what is going on, you guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we're going to be pitching a Spider-Man 2099 game idea. The idea for this video was inspired by real Matthew Paul and his comment on one of my other Spider-Man PS4 videos. He said, "I'd love to see Insomniac do a rendition of Spider-Man 2099, somehow tying into the universe they've created with their rendition of the old webhead. Free roaming through futuristic NYC, now that'd be spectacular." I thought this was a really cool concept based off the idea of a Spider-Man PS4 video game. This would be really something that not many game series have done by exploring their lore this far into the future. The thing about the future in all scenarios is that it's uncertain, and we don't know whether or not the future will actually look anything like it does in Spider-Man 2099 universe, but it's also really cool to theorize. So with that out of the way, this video will be a short explaining video of pitching a Spider-Man 2099 game, how it would work and what the story would be. And I'm no programmer, I did take computer science at school back in the day, but I wasn't any good at it, so remember this video will mostly focus on the story, as because that's what's interesting to me the most. So first let's talk about the gameplay and the mechanics, as I might as well get this out of the way here. I just have every Spider-Man game from here on out take notes from Spider-Man PS4. The combat system would be the same, the momentum swinging would be the same, making for smooth gameplay. The health system would work the same too, and a lot of other gameplay features should be similar too, as Spider-Man PS4 never really got disinteresting with the creativity of fighting, etc. So that's out of the way. Now let's talk about the map. I think the map should be split into two parts, and now this will tie into the story I have as well, and we'll also take some inspiration from the planet Coruscant from the Star Wars universe. The top half of the map and the bottom half of the map will be separate from each other, as you'll be able to load into each other almost like fast travel. That's because the maps will be as big as the Spider-Man PS4 New York, if not bigger. Therefore, for there to be an upper section and a lower section, they would have to be split up into two parts. The parts on the bottom will be classed as the quote-unquote slums, and you can do lots of side quests here, like saving someone's cat or something like that, or stopping a local crime. The top half will mostly be where the main story happens, however the main story can lead you to the bottom half of the city if need be, and side quests will also be available on the top half as well. Right now, let's get into the juicy part of this video and the reason why you probably clicked on this video in the first place, the story. Honestly, this is new to me as I've never wrote a Spider-Man 2099 story before, so this is going to be pretty interesting. Okay, so the story will be, this will be near to the start of Spider-Man 2099's career, and there will be two separate stories. There will be a flashback story, there'll also be the main story, and then by the end of the game, they'll meet in the middle, where the flashback story is near to the beginning of the main story. Miguel O'Hara's arc in this will almost be trying to live up to the name of Spider-Man, except for there's a twist. The evil corporation known as Alchemax, led by Tyler Stone, are on the rise, and they control and now govern the top half of the city and are trying to enforce themselves upon the slums. However, the problem is most of the people who live on the top half are rich, wealthy people who are mostly friends with Tyler Stone, and he has a lot of power. The people on the bottom are just regular people trying to make it in day-to-day life, or they're straight up homeless. In this world, Spider-Man is a myth. He has a legacy that hasn't become legend. People almost fear him. It has become an urban legend, a scary nighttime story that the Spider-Man would patrol the streets of New York. It has become a Chinese whisper, and many people now fear it. Miguel O'Hara will be working with Alchemax, and early on in the game we will get introduced to Miguel's moral compass, and that he is a good person, although he doesn't really agree with some of the things that Alchemax is doing. Spider-Man has been stopping a few low-level Alchemax crimes so far in his career when we begin the game. However, there are some new supervillains on the loose that are big monsters almost like goblin creatures. Your first couple of big boss battles in the game will be to take down 3 of these monsters, as Miguel grows suspicious that Alchemax are up to their good old tricks again. Now this game is going to be one of those games that flashes back to give more context to the story, which is where this flashback story comes in. We will flash back to the events before Miguel was Spider-Man, and at Alchemax, they are working with genetic coded imprints into a subject known as Mr. Sims, and Tyler enforces him out of his own will to allow it to happen. He puts the imprints in him and he transforms into a giant monster and then dies. This will be the first quarter of the game. The next quarter will be focusing on the mysterious case of Mr. Sims. We will then try and find out if these monsters came from Alchemax like they did before. Miguel tries to figure out secrets within the corporation as well. Whilst eavesdropping, we will find out from a conversation between Tyler Stone and an Alchemax scientist that Mr. Sims is actually alive. We also find out the reason Alchemax and Stone are making these monsters is because they know using a mind control serum known as the Rapture, they can force them to do whatever they want. Miguel will know what the Rapture is and will have another flashback scene where we are introduced to the Rapture and Miguel working on it with Mr. Sims, as it will become very relevant later in the story, and it is also revealed here that Miguel and Mr. Sims are expressed to have a very good friendly relationship. The next mission will be to try to help Mr. Sims escape as Miguel. However, you will be caught and then you will be fired from Alchemax completely. We will get hints that there was already a disturbance between Miguel and Alchemax before, but this will be explored later on through the flashback side of the game as we advance through the story, and it will become more clear later on. The last portion of this quarter will be you fighting the monster version of Mr. Sims, and unfortunately, he will die. This will dwell on Miguel as he's just lost a friend. Miguel will dwell on the legacy of Spider-Man. We will get a few scenes in between where he tries to research the old Spider-Man Peter Parker and what he was really like. A lot of people said that he was a myth, including Miguel himself, but somewhere in the game he will realize that he wasn't, and will find something that could inform Peter Parker's actual existence and not some myth. This will push Miguel to do the right thing. He can't let people die. His whole arc from here on out will be to prove the Spider-Man legacy. If people won't remember Peter Parker for who he was, Miguel will make sure people remember the name Spider-Man. But he's not Peter Parker. He is the Spider-Man of tomorrow, here to save today. And this is his little responsibility arc that will be fleshed out here. Miguel is then informed that there will be a massive surge on the lower end of New York, and that Tyler is finally ready to conquer it as his one massive playground. Miguel will then travel to the bottom half of New York to stop this surge once and for all, and this will be the second to last quarter of the game. I sort of think of it similar to that Assassin's Creed Revelations portion of the game where you have to visit Cappadocia. Through this portion you will find info and will eavesdrop on different guards until you finally stop the surge by facing a big boss battle either with another monster or a very heavy loaded Alchemax guard. And then we will introduce a new Spider-Man 2099 suit, the white one. Whilst in the lower end of New York, Miguel will find old remains of the ESU lab, whose in this universe could have helped Peter with suits or resources for the suits. Miguel will gather resources and will make a new variation of the Spider-Man 2099 suit, which will be upgraded and have more durability and will make attacks faster and slicker. This will be the Doc Ock suit of this game. For the last half of the game, you will return to the upper levels of the city and Tyler will be pissed. News of a new Spider-Man will rise and all attention will be on Miguel. The pressure is on for this character. Can he live up to the name? Will he rise above the myths about Peter Parker? The last half will be Tyler realizing that Spider-Man is the one who's been messing with his plans this entire time, and will give himself the monster powers through the genetic implants, and the final boss battle will be to fight Monster Tyler Stone, or something along those lines. He could have a mech suit, he doesn't have to be a monster, I don't know. But before this happens, we will get the final flashback scene where it is revealed that Tyler Stone is Miguel's father, and we will find out what happened and how he got his powers. When Tyler tried the genetic code on Mr. Sims for the first time, Miguel had enough, so he tried to stop Tyler. However, Tyler injected him with the Rapture Serum, which at the time was a prototype so it didn't fully work. In an attempt to rid the Rapture within him, he tried to use the same genetic procedure that quote-unquote killed Sims, but used his own genetic code as a baseline. However, for the genetic code to work, it had to be worked in with a code other than humans, so Miguel chose a spider. Expecting it to either bring him back to normal or kill him altogether, Miguel's DNA ended up splicing and 50% of it became spider, giving him the proportionate abilities of a spider, becoming the new Spider-Man. Back to present, Tyler and Miguel will have an emotional confrontation as Tyler will be dying at the end after the battle. However, your final mission is to save Tyler to show that Miguel has learned from earlier in the game. And the saddest thing is, he has to save the evilest man on the planet to show he's the better person, who also so happens to be his father. Miguel will save him and Alchemax will come under new leadership and Tyler will be sent to prison. That's it for the story. As terms of power-ups go, they'll be included, and as the game goes on, you can unlock new abilities and moves. As you move through the story, you can also unlock different suits. Obviously, it's a Spider-Man game. For example, when you arrive at the old ESU lab, you can unlock the old Spider-Man Peter Parker relic suit and classic suit and stuff like that. With that being said, that's my pitch for a Spider-Man 2099 game. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't the best, and it's just a bunch of ideas thrown out there of what I'd like to see for a story. Obviously, if I sat down and spent a lot of time on it, the story would be way more coherent and would flow a lot easier, but I feel like with this sort of concept you could really push a 2099 story forward, and I feel like this could go to interesting places with also having the map split into two parts, and it would obviously flow a lot easier with other areas explored and explained away better. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button, support me on Patreon in the description below, and with that being said, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.